You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com. Welcome to REIA Radio Momentum Monday.
Wow, I think we need to talk about this. No, I'm kidding.
You don't like Momentum Monday?
No, I'm kind of liking it. I think, like we were just talking about, we have a new kind of format that we're trying out here at REIA Radio. We're going to have segments on Mondays, which we know everybody needs a little kickstart to their week.
Yes.
And then we've got a regular full-length podcast on Wednesdays that always air with our guest interviews and all that fun stuff that everybody loves. But we're going to do a kind of little jam session with Owen and Ted on Mondays, and we are looking for listener and viewer feedback here. And what we're willing to do, Ted, what did we talk about before we got on?
Well, if you think that you have a great idea that we could kind of label this segment, you know, like Kickstart your Momentum Monday or something that would be a good tagline.
We're looking for a name is what we're looking for here.
We're willing to do a contest here, and we're going to put this on our Instagram and our Facebook group, and we're going to look for the best idea. And whoever provides the best idea, we're going to come up with some swag options for you. Maybe you want a custom REIA Radio shirt, or maybe you want one of our hats that we've had designed.
Or maybe we tell you what we're going to give you.
Yeah. Maybe
like that idea
maybe just tell us your size. And
a mystery piece of swag.
Maybe it could be a coaster. This awesome coaster that you'd see right here.
This all could be yours with your chosen comment.
We'll even leave a little bit of the old-fashioned splash on there.
Yes, it's authentic. It's like getting a sweaty guitar pick from somebody at a Tool concert.
Oh, I would love that.
See?
Maybe we'd just have you in to make the announcement on radio with us.
Wait, I've got it. The T-shirt you have on right now with your essence still in it. Ted's sweaty REIA Radio T-shirt. This is perfect.
But this isn't REIA Radio T-shirt.
Oh, it's man.
It's the Omaha
foiled
REIA.
again.
But maybe we could have you come on, give the announcement of the name right here live with us.
Okay.
And have a little fun with it.
All right, we'll do it. All right, so everybody jump on to our IG and Facebook pages, REIA Radio, and throw us a comment. We'll make a post out there and let us know what you think this segment might be called. Owen and Ted rambling about real estate, among other things.
Yes, yeah, we want your ideas.
All right.
So you're pretty much saying you don't like Momentum Monday, is what you're just telling.
Maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah.
I'm still marinating on it.
Let's kick off the Monday with Momentum Monday.
All right. So speaking of kicking off, what's your week been like, buddy? You went to the Omaha Real Estate Meetup last night.
Yeah, I had a great time down there. Saw some old faces, you know, because you and Colin, you guys like to take the summers off, so you guys kind of go on a hiatus of having your events.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's
fair.
fair.
Yeah, so it's always nice to get everybody back in the room and check out what's going on.
Yeah, I think we were talking like attendance is typically a lot lower during summertime in-person events, just with all the vacations and family stuff and all that going on. But I think it's going to be a lot better once school kicks back into gear.
I had 87 people at my last meetup, so
I'll take that, Colin.
Yeah, I don't know. I think summer attendance is just fine. You do get a lot of people that reach out and like, oh man, I can't make this one because I'm doing this or doing that. I'm like, yeah, I get it. And there's people that will be there that normally aren't there.
Can you imagine though being back like when we were growing up or whatever, when there was no live streaming of anything, and like if you didn't go, you just missed it.
Yeah,
like there was you had the FOMO was way different back in the day.
Well, I tell you what, JB did his live event. We just broadcasted that a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
and that event was like lower turnout, but we had storms that were predicted in.
Yeah,
and so I had nothing against what I think we had like 70 or 80 people there, and we really were expecting a lot more. But and JB was kind of like bummed out. He's like, oh, this isn't the numbers I was hoping. I'm like, and because we were projecting storms, I looked at the live, and we had literally like 4 times more people watching live than we ever had. And I was like, oh, they're here. They're just not in the room.
Yeah.
So don't worry, we're right here with you.
So I had speaking of canceling events because of storms, I got asked recently. I don't think I brought this up, but so my hometown, small town in Iowa, Malvern, Iowa. I got asked by kind of indirectly by the owner of the bank there, which I do a lot of business with Mallard Bank, and my family has since I was not even alive. But the city is getting some, I believe, government funding to add housing. And they're trying to basically come up with a plan on the best locations, on where this should take place, how it all looks, maybe like what the program itself looks like and what it means to the community. And they are putting together basically kind of a committee to talk about all these things. And I got asked to be part of that committee. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I was trying to find out what the time commitment was, just so I don't,
overcommit.
Yes, exactly. And so we were supposed to have the first kind of kickoff meeting last week, and it got canceled because of that storm. But this is kind of interesting. I've never been, this is a kind of a newer thing, like a housing development planning committee.
You think I'm surprised they would ask somebody that doesn't even live in their town anymore.
Oh, I know. I still have some roots there. My folks are still around there. So, but yeah, that should be fun and new, and maybe I'll learn some things.
Yeah, I'd be kind of interested to see maybe we do a live podcast from there.
Oh boy, no, I don't think so.
No,
but hey, speaking of live podcasts, tell us about you sat in on a little jam session that the mayor of Omaha. You looked like you were front row.
Yeah, I like to sit in front and center.
Yes.
And so, yeah, the local mayor, Gene Stothert, was speaking at the Omaha Board of Realtors event. And it's an opportunity where she gets to talk about things that are happening in the local city, but the realtors get to come back and ask some questions. And, dude, my questions list was strong, like real strong. As I was sitting there, I was listening to good old Gene speak. I was like, man, I get like what? Where are my notes? Oh, yeah, here we go. I was like, hey.
Did you ask these?
Yeah, I asked a handful of them.
Okay.
I asked her about ADUs.
Okay.
Because right now
additional dwelling units.
They just approved that the additional dwelling units can be allowed in the city area, but only if you live in the house. So if I have a rental property, I can't add it to the back.
Okay, interesting.
And she's like, well, that's great. Wasn't even really thinking about that, but she seemed receptive to it.
Okay.
I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And then we have what we call the Orbit bus system. And I was just talking about the expansion of that. And I have some properties on 24th Street, so I wanted to know if that was really going to happen. She's like, yep, 24. We're definitely going north to south, but we're prospecting if it's going to be 24th, 30th, or another street.
Okay, so you're talking about basically a bus line, so public transportation, expanding that to help other parts of the community be able to participate in it. Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
And then as a person that has Airbnbs, I asked, is there any plans putting regulations on Airbnbs?
I love that you asked that.
And she said there's no plans right now. She said, but it was an issue when Airbnb was not paying out the tax to them. So there is a placement tax.
Oh, I didn't realize that was an issue.
And yeah, so they said it took a while to get them to pay the part of that tax to them. They said, like, we still don't get the whole thing. We're just getting a small portion. Just like, but we got past that and we felt a lot better about it. Ryan Basie brought up a lot of concerns about city permits on building, because he found a way to build some tiny houses that were costing $100,000 on empty lots.
Wow!
But the city declined them because it didn't hit the new the build out specs and
setback provisions, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep. But yeah, so
there's a lot of good stuff in there. Sounds like you asked some good questions too.
I asked, how I started it, because there's a new rail car system going in, or streetcar system going in.
That's got a huge price tag.
Yeah,
hundreds of millions of dollars.
But she says streetcar. The word just kept on coming out, right? And I started. I go. Well, if this was a drinking game, streetcar would have been really popular.
You said that. That's great.
You got to start with something a little funny before you ask your question. I think I took a few people back, but there was a couple was chuckling.
That's pretty good, dude.
Yeah, so we had some fun, but I had a ton of other questions I never got to because
just timing.
Yeah, I wanted to know how the rental inspection program was going. For the program, the future expansions for the streetcar, like what areas. She definitely talked about it going to North Omaha and to Counts Bluffs. I wanted to ask about the pro hockey team. What's the progress on that? We're battling with Salt Lake City on that one. Kellogg's closing. Like, how's that?
Big layoffs. Yeah, manufacturing plant.
500 jobs going away, and then they just announced this huge expansion of the Med Center, and it's going to be the third highest building in
Omaha.
In Omaha, but I don't think it has anything to do with the
towers,
the other expansion project that the government's doing.
Okay,
it's going to be over $1 billion project.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's
the tower project is supposed to be $2 billion with a B.
Okay, at the Med Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That right across Saddle Creek there. If you're local, you know what I'm talking about here. UNMC is University of Nebraska Medical Center, and it's a nationally renowned hospital.
The biggest employer in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so I mean, these are the questions I had, but I only could ask a couple. So I was
no, that's cool, man.
I started the ones that are like, I want these answers.
you heard it from the source. So that's cool.
But yeah, that was kind of fun, and then I've been sitting down with some really cool people lately. Like sat down with Paul Potts. So shout out to Paul. He listens to the podcast. And I've been trying to get really good about writing notes in my book about the people I sit down with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the podcast book, but also my meeting notes.
Jog the old noggin.
Yeah. And I sat down with a guy named Gerard, and Gerard has a cleaning company. This is a funny story. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
So he was a doctor, and he's sitting out with all his doctor friends, and and they all made comments about what they would be or could be. And he's like, and they decided he would be the best cleaning guy. So he, as a joke, he went and built a one-page little website and sent it to all his buddies to be for his cleaning company.
I think we may have talked. I don't. For some reason, this sounds familiar to me.
So he got a phone call 3 months later off of his website page he built. It's for a big commercial building.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I can figure this out. So he started making some calls around, got some staff set up, and then he got the account. And then he's like, oh, maybe this is something I can do. And then he started getting more business off this fake website he built. And
that's great.
And then he's like, well, I can always go back to being a doctor.
Who says that?
But he goes, the doctor is always an option, but I'm home with my family.
Right.
So he's now full-time going into this, and he's starting to kill it.
That's cool.
And yeah, so it's just an interesting story, and don't let anything hold you back.
Nice.
What about you?
Well, okay, so I have had a couple of pretty interesting meetings, and one of them, well, actually two of them in particular recently, stem from what I'm going to talk about in today's Golden Nugget.
And this Golden Nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844 we close, or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
So today's Golden Nugget, this is a little maybe out there, but okay, so everybody generally has kind of a routine with what social media sites they visit. There's people that like X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We know all of these, right? I think a lesser, I guess not as visible, is Reddit. Mm-hmm. And I think you and I maybe have talked about this, but recently, so as most of you know, I am one of the owners of a hard money lending business called Liquid Lending Solutions, and we love that business, and we're really trying to grow it. So I was kind of looking at some threads on Reddit, and the nice thing is it's like there's something for everyone out there. Literally, you can just type in, like let's say you're super into anime and you want to find out where the best anime hangouts are in Omaha or another city. You can just type that in as a keyword, and if there isn't what you're looking for, which there probably is already, but you can just start your own thread, and then all of a sudden you're participating. So it's like a random, like it's kind of like Twitter, but it's way more in depth. And there are some, of course, trolls on there that are just mean to everybody, but there's a lot of people that put a lot of thought into their answers. So I found it just fascinating to kind of like find topics that are interesting to me or relevant to my businesses and just kind of go through. And so what I did was there was a thread about starting a hard money lending business and how to go about it. And I put some thought into it, and I made a pretty solid post on that thread about here's what I did. I'm not saying this is how everybody should do it, but here's what's worked well for us. just kind of outlined an overview of how we started the business, when we started it, who we basically have doing what our backgrounds were, how we got money, how we made loans, what docs do we use, all that, right? It's pretty comprehensive. So I had like a bunch of people just kind of messaging me, and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. This is super helpful. Do you mind if I message you for, if I have questions? And I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine. And, this is what I kind of used to do on Bigger Pockets originally, and I haven't really posted on there much, but so I started doing this, and then I had I had 3 guys that I have talked with now several times out of this. One's in Indiana, one's in Idaho, one's in LA. And the one that called me yesterday, this guy from LA, he was kicking around. He had some cash. Evidently, he was making quite a bit of money in a business. And he had some, he had like 150 to 200 grand he wanted to start loaning out in hard money, but he's in California. And so he just didn't even know how to go about it at all. And so he was asking me some questions. And I'm like, look, I'll just give you a quick overview. Here's kind of the big picture, what you need to know about making hard money loans. Told him about regulations in different states, how difficult it was in California. You got to be a business-to-business loan, not, you want to watch out for that because they're highly regulated there. So I just kind of told him that. And by the end of my spiel, he's like, you know what? I think I just would rather give you $150,000 or $200,000 and put it in the fund. Yeah. And I'm like, I had no intention of it going that way, right? And so, and this guy, the interesting thing was, this dude owned dispensaries in LA. That was his deal. And that was fascinating because we were talking about running that as a business.
Is he Omaha based?
No, he's in LA, Los Angeles.
I know, but I have a friend that has a dispensary that's from here that it out there.
Okay. No. But yeah, he's like, I have a couple of them, and then he was talking about all the taxes they have them on them now. Basically it kind of started out, federally illegal, but states allowed it still, and you had to have cash. You couldn't deposit it into a bank under the FDIC.
That's probably really good at that time.
Yeah. and so he's like, but it's super dangerous because, especially in Los Angeles, depending on what part of town you're in, if you have a lot of cash, you got to be really careful. And there's, they get robbed and, all this stuff, employee theft, et cetera, et cetera. So I just got like a quick rundown of operating dispensaries, and he was just complaining about, all the taxation, and it's just almost not even worth it anymore because, of all these reasons. But by the end of it, he's like, I have like $200,000, and like, what would I need to do to get that too? And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even mean to do this. And then I had another guy that was like starting a business, and I gave him a really good rundown on how to do it. This guy ended up being a software developer, right? And he was creating he had already had it in beta. He created a software product specific for hard money lending, which we have been kind of looking for, and we haven't been really happy with the availability of other products, right? We've tried a couple. They were not great. And so he's going to let me beta run this for free. So I'm going to do this demo like next week when I get back. And we may, we're all going to kind of like try it and see how it works for us. And he can make changes and configure it differently and whatever. So today's long-winded gold nugget is don't sleep on Reddit. It can be a really cool place to just network with like-minded people, dive into topics you're interested in for your business. If you're a real estate investor, you could accidentally raise several $100,000s on Reddit with people that want to do what you're doing, but they don't have the knowledge or the time to do it. So they just need a person that has the background. So get on there and start participating. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, literally, I could if I really focused on this, I bet I could raise a lot of money out of this. So I don't know. I was just kind of excited. It was a neat little thing. You're meeting people in real life that it's all online before.
I could have sworn that you were going to say, and the golden nugget is just might start your own dispensary.
I don't think I'm going to jump into that after what this guy was telling me, man. It's like a lot of headaches. But
and what social medias are you on?
So I am mainly, I would say Instagram and Facebook are probably the ones I check the most. Bigger Pockets I get on every once in a while. And then, I'm like, I'll get on Threads and Twitter.
I don't like Threads.
Or X now. Yeah. It just seems like it's all bots or all just people fighting with each other or like making inflammatory comments and then just waiting for people to chime in because they want the engagement. So it's like fake,
so that's the way I feel about LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. I get on there once in a while, but
like if I can't find somebody, like especially if we're gonna have somebody on the podcast, and I can't find them on Facebook, then I'll go look at LinkedIn, and they're usually there.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
But
it's a good way to do research typically on people's work history.
My VA runs my LinkedIn account.
Okay.
And he posts all of our stuff for REIA on there.
Mm-hmm.
He runs our Facebook account. He runs our X account.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so I'm like, and he also posts on my Instagram also.
Yep.
So I mean, how authentic is it? I mean, I remember Brandon Turner's like, I hate Instagram and all that stuff, and he's like, I never touch it.
Yeah, he deletes it whenever, or just gets on it occasionally.
Yeah, and so I guess the only thing I personally am really hands on is my Facebook, Instagram, and then I do all the Snapchats for our REIA also.
Yeah, I know. I just never got into Snapchat. I have it, but I don't use it much.
I have like 1,000 people on there, and to be able to just post something out there, I mean, it seems pretty easy.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 social media accounts that I can just remember off the top of my head.
Well, I think everybody generally has a morning routine. If they're, if they are on social media, typically they'll go through Instagram, then they'll go through Facebook, see if they got any notifications or tags or whatever, or do whatever they're going to do. And then that's it, you kind of go on your day. But, it can it's annoying because it's like always there. It's that dopamine addiction that everybody seems to have some, severity of. So
at one point, I actually, and I think I talked about this on a past podcast, but I tried it for like a month, and I put all my social media apps and everything on my iPad.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's the only way that you can do it, and it's at home or whatever?
Yeah, no, I always have my backpack, but to take your iPad out and get on a social media,
it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, yeah. And it worked really good, except for the time I needed to promote my events. Yeah. So I want to do a live feed because I'm at a property, or I want to record something. It didn't work. That transition wasn't there. Yeah. To get to the iPad. And that's what in the end got me out of it.
Have you? So this week, have you had any personal real estate investing related stuff that's happened, or has it been kind of quiet?
I've been meeting with a lot of people wanting to sell their stuff. Yeah, I've had more phone calls with I just this morning I had a call with a client that I sold everything in his portfolio, and he's stationed in Japan. Okay, so we were just doing a call before the podcast, and he's like, hey, these aren't working well for me, and in the end I got looking at them, and like the rents were like 30 to 40% lower than they should be. And so it's like,
you're like, no wonder they aren't working.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I need to see them, but based on just outside looking in and what they looked like when I sold them to you, I go, you're really low. And so he wants to potentially sell them and then do a 1031 exchange. And I was like, well, because these have tenants in them, you're not just selling them to the open market, for everybody. People are going to, want to at least see that it is listed at the 1% rule. So if it's a $100,000 house, it's bringing $1,000 rent in, for example. Yep. But that's not the case. It was like, it's like a $140,000 house, and it's bringing $900 rent in.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
So I'm like, you think you have all this equity, but based on your tenants, you don't. Yeah. And that's always a hard conversation to have. It's like. And then, then he's like, has me starts doing an investigation. Wants me, it's like, well, this one's been vacant for a month, but nobody's contacted me. Or, I'm like, so then I found out whose property manager is. I looked at that site, and that property manager wasn't listing. It didn't even have it listed. Yeah. And he's like, are you kidding me?
Oh man, that sucks.
But that conversation, like if you have properties and you put it into a manager's hands, you can trust, but you need to verify. Yeah. It's like I have rental properties and I don't have a big portfolio, but I still go through and I replace the air filters in mine because I want to go look inside them and make sure they're okay. And that's my verification.
Yeah, I just I started this week, or no, not this week. I like a couple of months ago, I guess. I started working with a new contractor, and I've been really happy with how things have gone. Like he'll go look at it with me in a walkthrough, and I don't have to come with a huge scope of work already written out. He kind of follows me along, and we'll talk through what I want done. And then, in the beginning, when you're working with a new contractor, if they haven't done projects for you before, they don't know what my paint color is, or what my, what I like for trim and doors, and just basically. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. And we spent some time with that. I kind of, I look at that as an investment with your contractor. And then he builds basically an estimate based on what we talked about, takes a bunch of notes, measurements, and whatever. I'll give him the code so he can hang out after we're done, and then I'll get an estimate either that night or the next day. And it's detailed and it's what we talked about. And I never get everything on that I want to actually have done. So there's always a change order or two or whatever. But he was really good at it and detailed and cool and normal. So I'm pretty excited about this relationship so far.
Is he working for you full time?
Well, I've moved him literally there's no lag time. So I moved him from one project to the next project, and then we have 2 more projects right after that.
So he's not an employee, though?
No.
Okay.
No, he's got his own company. So
I mean, are you busy enough that you could get to that point?
Oh, I mean, I could hire him right now.
Yeah.
But I think he has enough people that work for him where he can handle multiple projects and probably multiple investors that he works with. But yeah, good dude. And so he finished up a project in like 2 weeks for me where I had to do kind of a cosmetic remodel, drywall repairs, paint the whole house, refinish the hardwoods, new appliances, backsplash, blah, 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 light fixtures, etc., yard cleanup. And, he got it done in like 2.5 weeks. And then I literally had my property manager list it, and she's like, I actually had we already have this leased. And I'm like, what? And they wanted to move in like a day later. And I'm like, I'm not all the way done. Like, I still have to pick up crap at the property. There's like scaffolding over there and whatever. But they had it leased, and it was leased for as much as I wanted it for, and they moved in 2 days later. I mean, can you beat that?
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, and they were like, I'm like, well, what are their, I was kind of like checking on their qualifications, and she's like, no, they make great income. They don't, their credit scores are fine, blah, 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 blah. I was like, sweet. So that one's done, and then I moved him right over to the next project that I have that's going to be a long-term rental that I'm fixing up and putting lipstick on and selling it. So yeah, that's been a good week for me.
Have you had any progress with selling some of the stuff off?
So this Monday I listed I have a 20-unit property in Ralston, Nebraska, which is a suburb of Omaha, which a lot of people like living there. So I listed that one. So that one's on the market now, $1.795 million. So like just under $90,000 a door. But I'm hoping to get that sold here in the next couple of months. And there's some value add opportunities still left.
Give me those details. I guess some out of state investors that are that are looking. So.
Yeah, I made a post yesterday on it on Facebook, so that's out there.
Cool.
But yeah,
awesome.
Well, that's all I got for this week. But hopefully you guys got a little bit out of this. Again, kind of give us some ideas here on what we should call this segment. It'll be basically, kind of our weekly update, some golden nuggets, sprinkle in some quick tips and funny stories. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, and then stay tuned till Wednesday. We are doing a live event where we had Jerry Schlickburn come speak, and it's a little different. It's going to get more into the psyche and the soul, and you guys have heard Jerry speak in previous episodes, but I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's one of our top watched YouTube videos, but we're going to put some edits in this for the podcast.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun to listen to. Great mindset coach, and just tons of experience in investing and real estate overall. So should be fun.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Wednesday.